will be with the presenter as he presents to us what has been prepared. We pray, Heavenly Father, that whatever we are going to learn is that which is going to strengthen our faith and help us to stand even in the times that we are required to be true and faithful to you. Our prayer is that you will continue to draw us closer to you than ever before. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Elder Sokoli, your presenter for the afternoon. I'm sure as the theme song went by, that will be in line with our Bible study. I just need to confirm from the chorister, do we have a group on? Okay, all right, that's fine. All right.
Sanduga, gaga, oh, Amen. What do we say again? Okay, good afternoon, brothers and sisters. How are you today? 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 Thank you so much. Today's interaction, we are looking at our right to worship, religious liberty, others call it. And we want to make it as interactive as possible in the next 2 hours. Before we start the lesson, someone sent me the following questions. In Zambia, generally, we are a Christian nation, is it? Okay. And so, the question that I received is this, and I want to get your views. Why can't we have the law that prescribes a religion, a day of worship like Saturday, just for the good of society, so that possibly everyone can be worshiping God on a Sabbath? Would it not be a good law? Okay, that's the first question I received. The second one, he started work, and in the contract of employment, he has to work from Monday to Saturday. Can he go back to the employer and say, let's change the terms and conditions of what? Of employment, so that you give me a day off. Or I won't actually be coming on what? On Saturday. Yeah. That is question number 2. Question number 3 relates to the matter that is in court. Of course, we will not discuss its merits. The child was not enrolled at a certain school because of the what? The dreadlocks. And according to him and the parents, it is part of what? Part of his faith. Can't the Adventist Church join that matter to defend? Thank you. Can't the Adventist Church join that matter in court, since they are the ones who speak so much about religious liberty? Okay. So let me get the views. We can take round. So as I get the views, when we had the last interaction on the trust services, we received some feedback, and one of the feedback was that you dwelled so much on the legal part and not on the what? On the spiritual part. So today, we'll introduce the lesson from the Word of God. Does it matter what we believe concerning our right to worship? Is it a political question? Is it a legal question? Or it is part of our faith? Okay. So let me first have your views concerning those questions. I know we'll have time for the audience to ask and participate, but let me first get your views on those 3. So which one do we start with? Maybe let's start with the last one. Adventists, we We are the champions of religious liberty, and the matter is in court concerning liberty of someone who expresses the faith by keeping the what? The dreadlocks. That's what we call them. Yes. Can't we join that matter as a church? So that we help the young man to defend and uphold his right to worship according to his faith. What is your view? Let me get your opinions. What is your view on the first part? Or ours is just to kneel down and pray? We have nothing to do with that. Okay. Okay, what is your view? Where is the mic? Okay. Or you can pick any question randomly. The other one was what? There is a contract of employment. And one says, no. I think now my faith says I can't be coming to your work on a Saturday. Is he in breach of the contractual obligation? Both parties agreed. Eudangando.
Let me attempt on both. As a church, it doesn't matter what your religious, what your faith is. It doesn't matter whether you are Jehovah's Witness, you are Rastafarian. If your rights are infringed, as a church, we can go to court and support your religious liberty because we believe in religious liberty. The second one, when you sign a contract, you are consciously saying, it doesn't matter, I'm agreeing to the terms that are obtaining. So you cannot go back and say, my faith, unless your faith was not okay then, probably we can excuse you. But if your faith was the same, if you were Adventist when you assigned the contract, and then 10 days later, you go back and say, no, I'm Adventist, this contract is unfair, you are in breach of the contract.
Okay, we are getting the views, eh? Okay, what are your views? As I add more questions that I received. A child is enrolled at the Catholic Church and is required to attend Mass on Saturday or any other day. And that type of worship requires the worship of idols. And as a parent, you knew that the faith of the Catholics, or you see it, it's contrary to your faith. Can you just tell the child that, no, today don't go on Saturday, but the school policy says you have to do that, and you signed as a parent. Can you challenge that policy without necessarily withdrawing the child from that? Okay. Pick any view, any question, and give your view. The mic, there's a hand there. Thank you, Dangan, for that opinion.
Okay, thank you, Elder. What can I say? The thing is that as parents, there is no need for you to take your child to a Catholic church school if you know that the rules and what we believe in are different. So I can't see the reason why you should put yourself in that situation whereby you have to start foot teaching and do this and that. My mom and dad, they are both Catholics, and I struggle a lot during the Sabbath hours just to to make them understand that I can't work. So as Adventist parents, there is no need or reason for you to start putting yourself in that situation, because in the process of you trying to control that child, you are going to sin. Yeah.
Thank you for that. The submission is no, they are not. You wanted to say the same thing. And the others, quite a lot of questions I asked. You can pick any. Yes, there is a hand there.
Thank you, Elder. So there are two things involved in the scenario. I think the last scenario was mentioned, where, assuming I'm a parent, I have a child, and we are both Adventists, we take this child to a Catholic church. To a Catholic school, so to say. It may sound to be a myth, but this is actually what happens. The first thing is, I think the Bible the Bible has urged us to teach our children whilst they are young, such that when they hear that word and they learn that, no matter what, they will never depart away from that truth. So, as a parent, I'm assuming me, Chishimba, I take my child to a Catholic church. I'm going to leave that child at that side. The first question would be, why am I taking that child to a Catholic church when we have a lot of Adventist churches? So I will stand, and it's more like I'm now accepting to be compromised with my Adventist faith, that faith that I know, because I'm taking that child at a different environment where there are a lot of different beliefs. Because by me telling my child to say, you shouldn't be doing this, it's more like, again, we are trying to compromise the principles that a particular institution has set. So my answer would be, I would rather I look around and check for an Adventist school. Otherwise, it's more like I'm exposing my child and myself to be compromised with my faith.
Thank you so much. Just to take statistics, how many have children at Adventist schools there? How many? One. Adventist schools, those who have children at Adventist schools. 1, 2. Only 2. The rest, private schools owned by non-Adventists with their own policies. We signed those policies, before enrollment. Can you go back and change the mind? No. Much as I signed, sorry, I'll respect the what? The freedom of worship of my child, and so on Saturday, my child will not be coming there. Okay, before we address those questions, the religious liberty, is it a political question? Is it a religious question? Is it part of our faith? Okay, let's see what inspiration says. Okay, I have framed some few questions that we have to get answered from the spirit of prophecy. When religious liberty is threatened, is prayer sufficient? Your employer says, you have to choose between your what? Your God and your work. Your principal at a college says, either you attend extra lessons or get out of here. Should we just kneel down and pray? What does inspiration say? We, as a people, have not accomplished the work which God has committed to us. We are not ready for the issue to which the enforcement of the Sunday law will bring us. It is our duty, as we see the signs of approaching period, to arouse to action. Let none sit in calm expectation of the evil, comforting themselves with the belief that this work must go on because prophets has foretold it, and that the Lord will shelter his people. We are not doing the will of God if we sit in what? Quietude, doing nothing to preserve what? Our religious what? Liberty. So we cannot keep what? silent when our liberty is threatened. And prayer is not sufficient. Question number 2. Why should we act to protect our liberty? Volume 5, Testimonies, at page 714. It may be that a respite may yet be granted for God's people to awake and let their light shine. If the presence of 10 righteous persons would have saved the wicked cities of the plain, is it not possible that God will yet, in answer to the prayers of his people, hold in check the workings of those who are making void his law? What is this talking about? What is this story in the Bible? What is this story in the Bible? Cities of the plain, Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Yes. If there are few people here who can speak and stand up and speak, then they would save what? They would save the masses. And so, silence may not be a solution. Should we be inactive in the situation? If our people continue in the listless attitude in which they have been, God cannot pour upon them his spirit. They are unprepared to cooperate with him. They are not awake to the situation and do not realize the threatened danger. They should feel now as never before their need of vigilance and concerted action. When the national reformers began to urge measures to restrict religious liberty, our leading men should have been alive to the situation and should have labored earnestly to counteract these efforts. It is not in the order of God that light has been kept from our people, the very present what? Very present truth. So religious liberty is part of our what? Part of our present truth. Now, reference is made to our pioneers. In 1888, one instance, in 1888, the American government prepared a bill, Western Law Bill, that went to Congress. And there was a select committee, education select committee, which was chaired by Senator Blair. Now, a bill, we know a bill, we have learned in civics. So it means the law is about to be what? To be enacted. Now, it was the Adventist church, and we'll bring out even the latest employment matter in US. Was it last week? Last week, yes. Where Adventists have not been silent. And even in 1888, we were not silent as a church. We had to send Elder A.T. Jones to appear before the Select Committee on Education. And the arguments of Elder Jones are recorded in the book called Liberty. Because of the arguments of the Adventist church, the bill was not passed into what? Into law. So Sister White says, as it was then, and so we should do what? We should be vigilant, for this is part of our present truth. In defending religious liberty, are we neglecting the preaching of the third angel's message so that we just concern ourselves in court matters? Not all our ministers who are giving the third angel's message really understand what constitutes that message. The national reform movement has been regarded by some as of little importance, that they have not thought it necessary to give much attention to it, and have even felt that in so doing, they would be giving time to questions distinct from the third angel's message. May the Lord forgive our brethren for thus interpreting the very message for this time. So, the national reform movement then, it's like today you have the liberty movement in Zambia. And so these brethren are just concerned with fighting for liberty. So Sister White is saying, he's addressing our ministers. By ministers, it's not the political ministers, addressing our pastors. The work of our ministers is as important as what? As those who are promoting and defending our liberties. The slides are quite many, but I can pause here. And so, I'll share the slides for those who are interested. So the point is this. Talking about the freedom of you employees, talking about the rights of you employers, the rights of you students, it is part of the Adventist faith. Okay? It's not a political question. It's not a legal issue. It is a faith-based issue. Any comment on the introduction, if any? Okay, so now let's look at the right that we are talking about. Okay, let's look at the source of this right that we are talking about. It's called Chapter 1 of the Laws of Zambia. Chapter 1 of the Laws of Zambia, it's called Chapter 1 because there are several laws, and so the Constitution is called Chapter 1. So in the first article, it says the Constitution is a supreme law. Now, we have to pay attention to the framers of this and the answers that we gave. Remember, we have contracts of employment, which the employers and the employees want to respect as sacred. We also have the policies of the schools, which we signed. Now, let's look at what the framers are saying. This Constitution is the supreme law of the Republic of Zambia, and any other written law, customary practice that is inconsistent with its provision is void to the extent of the inconsistency. Now, before we look at the right to worship, which is under Article 19, the Constitution says, suppose we have customary practices, suppose we have a contract of employment, suppose we have a church policy, a school policy, or whatever you can call it. If it is inconsistent with the supreme law of the land, to the extent of its inconsistency, it is what? Null and void. Okay. An act or omission that contravenes this Constitution is illegal. This Constitution shall bind all persons or schools or churches, everything, state organs, the judiciary, the president, everyone is bound. Okay. Okay, now, this is where we get now our right to worship, except with his own or her own what? Consent. No person shall be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of conscience. Freedom of conscience is the right to worship. And for the purposes of this article, the said freedom includes freedom of what? Thought, freedom of religion, freedom to change is what? Or belief, and freedom either alone or in community with others, and both in public and private, to do what? Now, I'll ask questions on this. To manifest or propagate is religion or belief in worship, teaching, practice, and observance. How do we manifest our worship as SDS? So, the way I manifest my worship as an Adventist, no one should take offense of that. Not even the law of the land. Because the way we manifest it is protected under what? Under the supreme law. How do we manifest our worship? Yes, we are discussing. So we don't know how we worship as SD. How do we manifest our faith? The passers-by or your fellow employees, church mates or whatever society, how do they know that you are SDA? How do you manifest your faith? Yes. The mic? Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Oh, the pastor will help us.
Now it's like I'm the only one who goes to church. As worshippers, one way we manifest this is gathering on a day like this one. Yeah, we gather on a day like this one. We also demonstrate it in terms of our habits and practices, in the things we eat, the things we wear, people are able to distinguish. Even our music, people are able to distinguish in the way we do our things. Our preaching is also distinctive and akin to us in the manner we preach, in the manner we pray. We also have our social gatherings and religious meetings like camp meetings and crusades. Now, when you go to an Adventist crusade, you can tell in terms of the nature of the presentation and the way we will say things in the spirit of telling the truth. It is going to show how we are going to do that. And that is identified with us. Like right now, if people moved around, they know that people who meet and worship on Sabbath are Adventists. And so they are able to see that. In our places of work, people will know, for those of you that are in public or private sector, like today they know he's not there because he has gone to church, assuming that you are here. So in those several ways, we are able to manifest our worship. It could be at individual or corporate level.
Amen. Thank you so much. So, manifestation of a particular, okay, there is also, I'll comment later. There's also a hand there.
Okay, I have a question about the Sabbath because we are not the only church which keeps the Sabbath. We have 500 and something churches which usually worship on the Sabbath. So I think the pastor should be more specific to why we are so different from these other 500 churches which is keeping the Sabbath.
Okay, we'll come to that. But the point is this: every region has a way in which it is what? Manifested. Now, the comment that I solicited was, how do we manifest our faith as Adventists? Number one, you can't even hide. If just go to the restaurant and say that you don't take pork, the first question will be, are you what? Okay, are you SDA? You can't hide it. That's one way we manifest our faith. If we dress, pack our food on Saturday and start coming here, our neighbors will ask, even the neighbor who has just joined your community today, will ask, are you Adventists? Because this is the way Adventists manifest their what? Their faith. And so, the way we manifest our faith is protected by the supreme law of the land. Even your belief. Now, you can't tell what someone believes unless that person manifests it. Even to go around as we are going to be doing next Sabbath. Please don't miss. Next Sabbath we'll go door to door. It is part of manifesting our what? Our faith. So, no one can come there, even the police, hey, what are you doing? Can you go back? No. The going out to go and share the word of God is part of manifestation of the Adventist faith. And so, the law overprotects it in this manner. Okay? Belief. Now, let me ask, away from Adventists, if we have interacted with Rastafarianism, is it a religion? It is? Okay, I'm getting two conflicting answers. You are free to air your answers. Is it a religion? Okay, others are saying yes. How many are saying yes? Okay. Others who are saying it is not a religion? Okay, we don't know. Okay, those who are saying it is a religion, how is that religion manifested? How can you tell that? Okay, this is a Rastafarian member. Okay? Yes. One? Please, we are discussing. Yes?
I think one of the ways is in keeping the dreadlocks.
Okay.
And then in the music, the reggae music,
Okay.
everyone who sings reggae music will just be identified as a Rasta man.
A Rasta.
He's not a Rasta man.
Okay. So, through music you can tell that This belongs to the Rastafarian church, right? And also the keeping of the what? Dreadlocks. So, dreadlocks is not just for funny, it is a manifestation of what? Of a particular religion. Is it? Akano kwa kuchana kashati no. Okay? No. Tomorrow we don't want the shepherdess is that engineer we have, the technician. Just wakes up to that. No, I'm actually converted and I'm keeping the what? The dreadlocks as part of manifestation of my what? My new faith. Okay. The answer is no, again. Okay, we'll leave it. Now, the other principle that we are getting here is freedom to change your what? Your religion. Okay. Today you signed a contract, for example, that, okay, I'll be working from Saturday to Sunday. From Monday to Saturday. Then you get converted. Can you go back to your employer and say, I've changed my what? My religion or my faith. And so my faith dictates that it's part of my faith that I should attend church on a Sabbath. It is a day of worship and rest. Can the employer terminate your contract as one who is in breach? Pardon? Pardon? Diversity and inclusion. Okay? Please, today for finish. Help us.
Okay.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that nowadays, I think there's been an amendment in the Employment Act. There's what is called diversity and inclusion, which includes religious liberty. So I think somebody can go at any point and do advice, but yes, the employer may decide to terminate or may not decide to terminate the contract.
Okay. Suppose they terminate. Okay, anyway, let me get first the views. Elder Chelo.
Thank you very much. The employer is entitled to terminate.
Okay.
The reason is that at the time of the signing of the contract, you agreed to the terms. So if you have to go back, it means you are the one who is not fitting into the organization. Therefore, you have to get out of that organization and leave them alone.
Okay. That is the view, Elder Chelo. What are the views? These are practical issues that we have to discuss. So the Chelo says you're in breach. So leave the employer alone. Okay. What do others say? Okay. There's a backbencher there.
I think I'm agreeing with Elder Chelo. When you change to a new faith, I would say it in simple terms that the conditions have changed now. You've become someone different. Therefore, you would need a new contract. And that contract requires two people, the employer and you. You've become different now, so you have to make a new contract. And if the employer doesn't like it, he's free to terminate it.
The employer is free to terminate it.
Yes, because now the conditions have changed. It's a whole different scenario now.
So, predictability. Can you challenge it and win? Based on the right to change your what? Vis-a-vis your freedom to contract. Yes, there is a hand there. Yes.
Thank you, Elder. I've just joined, but when I just sat here, my eye took me right to what is on the screen there. And it's like we are quoting Article 19 of the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia. Now, that law, Cap 1 of the laws of Zambia, is supreme over any other law currently in this republic. So, from what you are reading there, you cannot be hindered from worshiping on the day that you want to worship, and then you are removed on the basis of your liberties to worship. I think it is not correct. So maybe we could talk about, what do you call it? The way we operationalize the law. Maybe that's where we are lacking. But in terms of whether or not it's correct, it's not correct to cut employment based on one's faith. One can challenge it in court, and based on that supreme law of the land, you can win. I submit.
Thank you so much. So the deacon is referring to the one that we quoted. That's Article 1:1. This constitution is the supreme law of the land. Any other law inconsistent with it shall be what? Declared null and void to the extent of its inconsistency. Okay, was that the last view? Okay, yes, there is another, maybe wants to buttress the same view.
Here is where we are missing it. At the time you are contracting, you are given the terms and conditions, right? You read them and you sign that I've read and understood. So you can't go back. Hear me correctly. You can't go back and say, now that I've become an Israelite, allow me not to work on the Sabbath. It doesn't work like that. These organizations have got their own do's and don'ts. Otherwise, it's going to be chaotic. You imagine if our union employed someone and then our CFO says, I've been converted now, I'm a Roman Catholic. So I want to be going to church on Sunday. So calling me to a business meeting on a Sunday, I'm not available. So let's look at all the issues. So don't just look at yourself as an Adventist. Look at the others also. Would you allow that? Zambia Union Conference. The CFO, for example, says, now I'm Roman Catholic. So please, are we going to fire that one or will not fire? Is the question I'm leaving to the church.
We'll answer that one as well. Okay. Yes, that is the view of Odachelo. We also have another view that the supreme law of the land guarantees the change of religion from one to the other. And so, a policy, a statute, a contract, to the extent that it infringes on my liberty, it is now and what? Void. That is another argument. We'll look at some of the decisions and how the courts have helped us to do this. Okay. Okay, a quick one.
Maybe just a comment. When you are entering into a contract that contract becomes law. But what we are saying is that any law, whether a contract or any other, that is inconsistent with the provision of the supreme law is now and void if it is decided in the courts of law. That's what we are saying. Whether you have signed the contract or not, as long as when you go to the court of law and the courts of law are deciding whether that contract is really valid against the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia, you are on terra firma to win the case. That's my point. I submit.
Okay, I've gotten the views. We are discussing. Okay. There's another view here.
I feel like we are too hard on the employers. Now, don't employers also have their rights?
Yes, they have.
Yes. Now, if they have their rights, it's their right for their employees to follow their laws that they have put. So, if you come back after signing the contract, then 2 years later you come back and say, no, I've changed my life. It's your life that has changed. The company is still the same company. So if you can't fit there, just move.
Okay. Before we break for a little music. Okay, there is a hand there. Also, apart from the employment part, you should also be addressing the issues. Your child in a school, and there is a policy. Should we respect the policy of a school, or we should respect our faith? The policy of the school says, please, come here or don't come here. Saturday is a day of learning. Okay, I saw the hand at the back.
Covered. What you wanted to say was said.
Okay, was said. Okay. 2, that is Article 19, except with his own consent or if he is a minor, the consent of his guardian. No person attending any place of education shall be required to receive religious instruction or to take part in or attend any religious ceremony or observance if that instruction, ceremony or observance relates to a religion other than what? Okay, now, tables have turned now. Adventist schools, Chimpempe, Rusangu, we receive a Catholic. UCZ, a witness. At our own what? Institution. What is good for the what? So now, and this is a child who says, yes, you accepted me here at Rusangu. I respect your faith. But based on this provision in the Constitution, you will not require me to attend your Sabbath. And what do? We have the policymakers. We are glad. What do? Do we send the child away? As Adventists, away from those. Let's now speak for, what do? So Rusangu sends an opinion to the office at our union, and the union leader now has to give an opinion to our institution. How should the institution proceed?
It looks like the way Elder you are leading us, it's like you have answers at the end.
Oh.
So it's like you just want to persecute us a bit, then we struggle, we fight. I think at the end you tell us something. before I come to this one, I think the other one that we are dealing with is, I think this is the challenge that we have in our country. Sometimes the challenges we have are not so much about the law, but the attitude of us as citizens and employees. The issue we are raising, where we have someone who is in employment, then all of a sudden, like the case that Odachelo has given, then CFO says he has received a new light. So now the inconsistency at that time is not with the law, it is with the employee. And the employers have not said they have a problem with him. It is him who has a problem. And so as we do this, then we need to strike a balance. If you still want to be in that employment with your new status, maybe you may need to reapply. And then they consider you on your new terms now as a Catholic to be CFO at the Union of the SDA Church. Then we relook your new status. And at that point, we need to reconsider your contract, whether we need to take you on or not. We are struggling with number 2. So far, in our schools, this side of the union, unless one is to confirm, there's no child that has been expelled because they are Catholic in our Adventist institution because of the same thing. Yeah. We also believe that when it comes to religion, the children have primarily come to school and they have not come to church. And so while we are doing that, we are conscious of the fact that in this institution, even when they come to church, they go in the hall on Sabbath. We know in this hall. While they come here, they are attending the meetings for the church because it's required in terms of the rules of the school. But no one, for the pupils, no one has been chased because they belong to another church. The other thing also you notice in all the schools, including those of us that send the children to other churches like schools like St. Paul's, all the saints. You know that I have discovered that the same attitude we have online. You know those things when you are doing, then they say terms and agreements. Very few of us have read those things. But we've gone ahead to say agree. Yeah, simply because you want to sign in. Yeah, we agree. And then you don't even know the content in there. And so in future, let's read through those things. Sometimes it's painful where you go and you confront the head teacher. The days when I was a head teacher, I was confronted by one parent who came and said, I didn't bring my child here to be learning about Sabbath. I brought my child here for school. I said, sir, let's go to page 3 of the school rules. What does it say here? This is what it says here. So this is what we do here. So part of and you see this signature, it's you who signed, sir. So meaning you agree with this. It's a very dicey situation where you are giving others freedom of worship. At the same time, you are conscious that you are Adventist. But so far, in our schools, we've not expelled any, at least not to my knowledge, this side of the union, maybe the other side.
Amen. Okay. So as Adventists, so at least we are respecting this. A child cannot change. Oh, there's a hand there. You can take there. Okay.
It's the last comment on this subject.
The last has come too quick, Elder. Just comment.
Just on this.
On this particular note.
On this particular Article 19. Yeah. When you check the case of Kelvin Hangandu versus Law Association of Zambia, one of the reasons the judge pronounced there for declining his application was that no one has forced you to attend the AGM on your Sabbath. Also, you cannot block those who would want to attend their AGM on your Sabbath from attending. So you have a choice to attend or not to attend. So in like manner, you have a choice to work for this company which conducts business on the Sabbath. You also do not have a choice. No, what am I saying? I'm saying you have a choice not to work for that company because it conducts business on the Sabbath. Should you decide that I'm going into that company, then you are agreeing to work on the Sabbath. And most of us are caught. Like Pastor Manjmela said, the problem is that we rush to check how much will I be getting. That's what we do, all of us. Maybe it's 1/3, if at all we have, who read their contracts from the first word to the last word. Most of us don't. And this is why we are caught up.
So we have two views. The other view is no. I'll respect my faith despite the contract, the policy. You want to comment? Okay, please come in.
I think I have a question. All our church schools, I stand to be corrected, isn't it? Especially, I stand to be corrected. Rusango, isn't it a requirement for you to achieve a certain level of attendance for you to graduate, isn't it? Doesn't that contravene?
Okay, does that contravene? I don't know if that is another question or... Okay, you can go ahead.
I have a question. Does Article 19 or any other laws, maybe the Employment Act, do they define what a working day is or a working week? I'm asking this because the government gazette for contractors, those in building and civil engineering works, defines a working week as 6 days, and it also includes Saturday as a working week. Now, if the law does respect people's right to worship, and the law in Zambia recognizes that there are actually SDAs in the country who are also civil engineers like myself, is it really respecting my right to worship if it defines a working week to include Saturday? That's the question I have. Thanks.
Okay. Does the law define the working day? That's the question? A working day. Okay. Does the law define a working day? Okay. Okay. Lawyers are here. They will help us. Okay. So, it's a question? Okay, you can ask. The questions. Okay, there is a hand there.
Thank you very much, Senior Counsel. The challenge, this topic is a very good topic, by the way, but usually, I think the challenge is on being truthful when you are getting employed. I can assure you, brothers and sisters, that the employers in this country are well vested with what the Constitution of Zambia provides. Okay? But usually when we are looking for employment, they will ask you, what church do you go to? Those questions are asked. I haven't been on the panel before, but I think those that have been, they always ask that question, what is your religion? But I think the weakness is that we tend to lie at the beginning. And when you lie at the beginning, it's like you are now deceiving your employer. First of all, in the beginning, maybe they will even be categorical. Are you going to be working on Sabbath? Because us, we require people to work. Just that question, when you lie about it, then what Senior Counsel Chelo mentioned will hold water. But if from the beginning you state, I'm an Adventist, I require to work. There are many testimonies I've heard where people have been truthful from the beginning, and the employers that are conversant with the provision of the Constitution will actually allow you not to work on that particular day. We have various testimonies of people who negotiate with their employers to work on Sunday. Okay? So I think that's where it is. It is us who are not truthful when we are being interviewed. And you only want to come out later and say, I'm an Adventist, when you lied first. So I think that's where the challenge is. With regard to the Kelvin Hangandu case, I think Kelvin was being over-ambitious by demanding. The demand then was that he was compelling all lawyers to be like Adventists. Because the question was, Lars holds their AGM on Sabbath. So his point was, I want to shift this meeting from being on Sabbath to any other day. Imagine it was held on Sunday. Those people who go to church on Sunday would also have complained. So they now apply the issue of majority. So when you're an Adventist, I think it's not also right to start telling everybody else that they are wrong to go to the church on their day, what they want, and then you want them to go on Saturday. I think that was where the problem with that case. As at the days of work, in Zambia we're very fortunate. Most of the employers, we work Monday to Friday, mostly. There are very few that extend to Saturday and Sunday. So it is incumbent upon us, like I said, to be honest from the beginning. These are human beings. You can negotiate. Where you can't, like others have stated, you step aside, leave that job and do something else. I submit.
Okay, so now we can start now. In the article, I didn't capture it before we come to, okay, Elder Yamba.
Thank you. Elder, my concern is these issues of court and law and what it says, they are good for people who are employed in high offices. But when we are discussing, we must be cognizant of the fact that there are people who are working where these representations are even irrelevant. Someone is a maid, and they are required to be at work every day. If you are koti mulela ndapo, fienu if you. What applies there? Ngataule fwa inchito, kabia. See? So a religious liberty from that perspective, I mean, I'm speaking from experience. I had a crusade not long ago in Helen Kaunda area. There was a lady who gave herself for baptism, and baptism was on Sabbath. She said, we had to go and speak. I had to go and speak to the employer, an Indian. And because of that, he says, okay, she will come, but in the afternoon. And we had to continue praying so that at some point, she will be given the Sabbath free. So I'm just saying, when we are discussing these matters, we should be aware of the fact that it will not always be that there is a law to run to where you can be granted, whether it's your freedoms or so. At a certain layer, we must be aware that it is left to me whether because of my conscience and the decision I have taken, I'm willing to give up even the job. Because some of us here, we have left maids at home. And those maids today we required them to be home. Abana b'abantu tabayishiba na day baya ku church. If they are to come to church, it's probably coming to church with us. So I just thought that if Yamafunde, Fisuma, but they have got there is also another group of people. Abashinga kwata representation. So when we are discussing, tuachitako include Wonsemu church so that we are in one accord.
Thank you so much. In fact, this discussion, the awareness, the campaign as Adventist covers everyone. And why the church has constituted departments with the professionals of lawyers and what, so that those who have challenges, the church will pick up to speak for them. This might be maids, directors, whatever level. Okay. So this awareness is very important. It goes to me, a general worker, to you, white-collar workers, and so on. Okay, then, yeah. So, if there is any infringement, please, the department will try to persuade. Okay, we'll come to that now. What should we do? We try to reason with your employer. You try to reason with the school. Then what? Do you end there? Do you start kneeling down? Is prayer sufficient? As we quoted from inspiration, it's not sufficient. There should be some steps to protect and enforce our rights. Okay, now, there was a mention of the Kelvin Angandu case. I'll come to that and explain the facts. There are quite many who may not appreciate what happened in that case. Now, there are certain principles that have been set by the judiciary in various jurisdictions. Now, I always start with the case of Sharon. Sharon, you were able to see those who are at the back. Sharon Dimanshi, that's Makerere University in Uganda. Now, that case was decided contrary to what we expected as Adventists. This is a group of Adventists. Exams are set on Saturday and everything, every activity on Saturday. Now, interestingly, the court here says, look, when you are coming here, can you read this policy? Didn't you sign here? As most of you said. You signed that, yes. And the court said, no. You can leave the school because you signed that. You'll be attending classes on Sabbath. But this is the only case where the court has ruled in that case. I've tried in most jurisdictions. In South Africa, it is a settled law now that there should be reasonable accommodation where there is plural faith. There should be provision to accommodate every faith in learning institutions. We are starting with learning institutions first. Okay? It is the same in Kenya, the SDA church. We tried to reason as a church 2017. Tried to reason as a church, nothing. What do? Let the court help us to interpret, to enforce, to protect our rights. It is a settled law in Kenya. You can't put any policy in Kenya forcing Adventists or any other faith to attend school on Saturday, on Sunday or what. There should be reasonable accommodation to accommodate what? Students. Those whose faith allows them to go to church on Sunday, let them go. It is the law that has been established by the Supreme Court in that decision. In Zimbabwe, it is the same. The recent case that I was looking at, it is that of the Rastafarians. And I'm sure the lawyers in Zambia, they will heavily rely on that case without commenting on the matter that is active in court. So, in Zimbabwe, it was the case, the Rastafarians that, no. Let's define what expression of the faith is. If the expression of the faith entails having what? Dreadlocks. Then it must be protected by what? By the Constitution. For your own information, these provisions unless maybe in Europe, these provisions in the constitutions are almost the same. And we have the same brains going around Africa drafting the constitution. One of our own man, Professor Ndolo, drafted South Africa and Kenya, he helped in Zambia, Seychelles. Yeah, so same provisions. But what the courts are saying in Zimbabwe is that please, let us allow every expression of what? Faith. If it is by having what? Dreadlocks. You cannot chase a pew because your policy says this. As long as it is a matter of faith, the Constitution must do what? Must protect it. It must protect it. So, we do not have cases in Zambia where the court has helped. We'll come to the Kelvin Angando one. In Denmark, I looked at the 2017 one. Sorry, this is in Philippines, but the name of the person is Denmark Vamos. This matter went to court. This is a medical student. Now, 2-3 years, a child is not graduating. Sure, what should we do? He went to the union. The unions pleaded with the institution, our child is not graduating because of the Sabbath faith. They refused. No, he knew that here we run school, or even on what? On Saturdays. He signed this. The matter went to court in Denmark, in Philippines. The law now is settled. You cannot put a policy that asks a child to decide between school and faith. That policy is inconsistent with what? With the Constitution. Where you ask someone that, please choose the school or get out. Okay? In the Philippines, it is settled. In America, for the past 40 years, there has been a law that an employee cannot ask for another day other than that which is provided in the Constitution. Those of you who are following religious liberty issues, was it last week? You can even Google it where you are. It's the case of I was just reading it, just a minute. Okay, so as I'm opening it. So what the court in America now has done is this. For employees, everyone now is protected. As at last week, I don't know what the courts in Zambia will say. We haven't had such. But they are always persuaded by these decisions. The courts in America are saying, no, and this is the Federal Supreme Court of America. Yes, Rejoy, yes. The Rejoy case. This is the federal, this person was working for the post office. And is a Sunday keeper, for your own information. And you know the person who helped to defend him, as the Odangandu submitted at first? It was Adventist lawyers. Because the reason is simple. Whatever they decide regarding the expression of the faith, especially the faith of the minority groups, will affect us. Whatever the court decides. And so what the Adventist church did was to send what? The amicus briefs. Those, you are not party to the matter, but you want to tell the court that, look, we have an interest in this matter. And we want to help the court to arrive at a just and fair decision. Adventist lawyers prepared their briefs, and as at last week, there is a shift in the employment law in America. You cannot ask an employee to decide between work and religion. No. In Zambia, we hope our courts will be persuaded by that. Okay, in Ghana, there is this case that I was reading. This is the 2021. Achimota Senior High School. Now, Achimota, when you go to Ghana, when I was reading about this secondary school, it has produced even when a Kofi Annan. It's among the best. What is the best secondary school in Zambia? No, it's the best school. It's the one where I went, Mwense Boys. Okay. So, that school has produced when a Kofi Annan and the rest. This innocent boy believes in what? Rastafarianism. To cut the story short, even in Ghana now, it is settled law. You cannot ask a pupil to choose between religion and school. And when the Supreme Court decides, all lower courts are bound by that decision. So, in Zambia, what happened in the Kelvin Angando case? So the Kelvin Angando is at Central Church. What happened? He got converted to Adventism, I think somewhere in 1996. When he got converted, he asked Raz. You know, Raz starts their meetings on Wednesday. On Wednesday, there is a conference, Thursday, Friday. But the actual AGM where they do the voting and other deliberations is on Saturday. He persuaded them, why can't we have another day? No. Friday is for Muslims. Sunday is for Sunday keepers. So, which day are we going to accommodate? So, to cut the story short, Mambirima sitting with other judges said, no. What you're asking for is unreasonable. They have not discriminated you in any way. If you ask for Sunday, they are Sunday keepers. If you ask for Friday, they are Muslims. Was that a good decision? In my view, it was not a good decision. Rights are not for the majority. Rights are for the what? For the minority ones. You can't decide on behalf of the majority. That's not human. Those are not principles of human rights. Oh, sorry, we are in church. Yeah. Those are not principles of human rights. Human rights are for the protection of those who are vulnerable. Okay? Those who are the minority. Those who cannot defend themselves. So, in my view, if this matter went back to the Supreme Court, most likely the Supreme Court can vacate, can decide otherwise, contrary to the earlier decision. You know, it's my position. So that was the Kelvin Angando case. It has set very good principles in religious liberty. If we had time, we could have discussed it. Okay, I can see hands are up. I wanted to comment on the rights of, I'm so particular with the rights of the guys in the schools. Yes, there's a hand at the back there. At the back, then Sister Msanji.
Thank you, Elder, for a very informative program. Now there is a case back in Lesotho. Even before I could enroll in the university, there was a case which the conference won over worship. The university forced the Sabbath keepers to write exams on Sabbath, or else you would fail. But then the conference took them to court, and it was settled. Now, when I came in, and my group, we suffered the same. The conference went back to the university but we have won this case. After the conference left, and in their meeting, it was now left with us individuals. Even the lecturers' faces changed, and they told us that this is a Roman Catholic university. It was even my first time to know that that's a Roman university, because it is called the National University of Lesotho. As a result, I was left with only one course before I could graduate. I haven't graduated still. I tried to go back, I think 2 years ago, to write it. It fell on the Sabbath again. And again they asked me, what are you going to do this time? And I told them that if it's on the Sabbath, you can't change it. I also cannot write. I'll go and worship. Myself, I have not graduated. Some have abandoned their studies. it is still like that. So what should be done in this case? Where we are told there's a ruling, there's a judgment that has been passed that you cannot infringe on their worship. But then the university says this is a Catholic university, something which we did not even know.
Okay, thank you so much. It's a very good question. And most of those who want to justify that you have to choose between this and this, they want to use the same. This is a private institution, this is a Catholic, and so on. Who will address that one? Okay, there is a hand at the back, Sister Musanji, before we come to the front benchers.
Thank you. Just wanted to find out with this religious liberty law, or I'm not sure the right term, whether I've cracked it rightly or wrongly, but then there's something we've been studying on Sunday law. So in the back of my mind, I feel there is some conflict somewhere. Maybe it's because I'm not understanding. So I'm wondering, won't one prevent the other? How is it going to be as we go forward?
Very good. We know that at one point, the gap that partitions the church and the state will be what? Be bridged, right? But why should we fight so much for religious liberty? Such that Sister White says it is actually part of our present what? Part of the present truth. Are we not? Why can't we just say, let it, so that Sunday law comes, we go to heaven? I've added a few things. Yes, are we not conflicting? Okay, ourselves. Okay, any other? Is a question? Okay, maybe we capture the questions, then we answer them.
Okay. I'm seeing a situation where we are leaving a lot of gaps or certain things unattended to. Here's a situation where I'm employed. I'm required to work on a Sabbath. I think it was one of the first examples. Then we reach a situation where you tell the employer, say, for me, it's either you push my day to Sunday or I don't work on a Sabbath. The employers say, yeah, that's not possible. It's either you leave, it's either you leave or you work. You appeal, I'm sure with the help of a lawyer who comes at a cost, obviously, because to challenge and ride on those clauses you gave us. Now this is it becomes an active court case, right? Because you appeal, it goes to the court and stuff like that. So now you're in a situation where they say, this is an active court case. You'll be on forced leave till this issue is concluded. So that's financially draining, emotionally draining. Those are the small nitty-gritties that I feel we're not addressing. And mind you, from my experience, Zambian courts drag cases. It's not like, oh, we'll go to court next week, we'll go to court next month and stuff like that. So during that period, those small nitty-gritties, how do we go by them? Because I think we're focusing mainly on you have the right to worship. If your employer or the school authority doesn't adhere to that, you can appeal the courts and stuff like that. But there are those minor issues. You're at home, you're put on forced leave till the case is what? Concluded. So, yeah.
Okay, maybe we start from there as we accommodate more questions and contributions. Now, in practice, the lawyers will agree with me. In practice, when you have such cases, of course, the first thing is you negotiate. Okay? Sometimes you may not have the capacity to negotiate. You engage the church. The church, as an organization, does the negotiation for you. Okay, this is our bona fide member at Shainama Church, and so we are requesting that accommodate him. Accommodate his faith. If that fails, you decide with the church that, I think let's enforce our right to worship. Now, you may not have the means, but the church has a department called Religious Liberty, from the General Conference up to this local church. Is it so, Pastor? Yes. Now, the church has resources, to my knowledge, for that department. And in countries where matters have gone to court and the church is defending, the church actually funds the legal fees, meets the legal fees, okay? And then two, the employer cannot fire you when the matter is in court. What Odachelo will do first is to apply for an injunction, okay? So that the status as it is maintained until what? Disposal of the matter in court. So it's not possible that they fire you, then you go to court. Okay. When you are aggrieved, you sue. First application, which accompanies the main application, is the injunction. Please don't do anything until the matter is heard and determined. Yes. Going to court is very costly. That is the reality. These people, they bill per hour, even a phone call. Yeah, don't just meet them like that here. Sorry, that's on a lighter note. But that is a reality. And so for matters of faith, we normally run to the church so that the church takes it up. Okay? The church fights those battles on our behalf. Okay, I hope I've addressed those. Okay, I don't know if there is an addition on this one. Please, you can raise your hand. Okay, the other one was on what? At the back. Okay, that was from Sister Musanji. Look, we are championing the liberty to worship according to the dictates of our conscience. But inspiration says these will be what? Will be taken away. Let me even read what the sister was referring to. Okay. Testimonies, volume 5, at page 451. When Protestantism shall stretch her hand across the gulf to grasp the hand of the Roman power, when she shall reach over the abyss to clasp hands with spiritualism, when under the influence of this threefold union, our country, that's America, shall repudiate every principle of its constitution as a Protestant and Republican government, and shall make provision for the propagation of purple falsehoods and delusions, then we may know that the time has come for the marvelous working of Satan and that the end is near. Now, what Sister White is saying here is this. The oldest constitution today that we have, and the model constitution, is American Constitution. And the first amendment, they call them amendments, it says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Now, Congress, that's their parliament. It cannot make the law to respect a particular religion or to prohibit a particular religion. So what that entails is there is total separation of church and what? And state. But Sister White says this right in our country, as she was writing, she was referring to America, it will be what? Will be taken away. That right will be repudiated. So now the question is, if at one point all the international instruments that speak for our liberty will be repudiated, why should we champion religious liberty now? I think that's the question. So let's address it. Yes, how do we answer our sister? Yes.
My leader, I think you have actually ably answered the question. Her question, if I got it right, was the conflict. In National Sunday Law books and prophecies, we are saying that there will not be allowed to have a free worship at the end of time. But meanwhile, our constitutions are allowing that now. So I think that's her point, was why the conflict. But I think you have ably answered. The answer is that as we draw near the end of time, these provisions of the Constitution will not be there. There will be amendments towards a world order. Is it new world order, where we will be actually forced to worship on one particular day. These freedoms will be taken away from us. So it's now that we should actually take advantage, because this constitution will not be like this forever. That's what I wanted to add.
Thank you so much, and I adopt your submission as mine. So as we enjoy these rights, we can defend them, but a point is coming that these freedoms will be what? Repudiated. Okay, there was a question at the back there that, if I can paraphrase it, the question was saying, this is a private institution. This is, say, a faith-based institution, and you opt to send your child, or yourself, you go there. Okay, something like that. I hope I've not paraphrased in a wrong way, but that's how it was. That's how I picked it. Now, maybe the question is this, and we have to answer this together. What makes the institution private? Because this is the main argument that the owners of these institutions are saying. Look, this is a private institution. I can set up my own what? Our own rules. What makes the institution private? Is it by registration, whatever statutory registration, whether it's PACRA or whatever, Societies Act? Is it the ownership? Is it the way they are run? What makes the institution private? Maybe we start from there. You are in private institutions and public institutions. Yes, what makes a public institution public? Eh? Because it belongs to the state? Okay. Okay, we are getting that definition. What makes it private? At the opposite is true. It belongs to individuals. Pardon? Ownership. It's in ownership, not registration. Both. Okay? So, the follow-up question. So, at the public institution or private, okay, in this case, maybe private institution. So, the owner of the private institution can make up any rules because it is a private institution? There is a no answer. Others are saying yes. Okay.
I think if those rules an expression of how that word we used, how he expresses his faith. You know what I mean, isn't it? Imagine we're Adventists. I think this is the premise of Adventist schools, isn't it? Adventist schools are modeled against how we express our word and practice our faith. So I think to that extent, they can set up rules that are an expression according to what they believe in.
Okay, that's the first answer. Second, BK?
I'm saying no. To an extent, they can make their own rules. Okay? By that, I mean it in many ways. For example, public institutions, they cannot just dream up courses to teach. Let me give you an example of CBU and UNZA. Okay? But a private institution, they can come up with they are a bit free in a way to decide what courses to teach because they are run by a board of shareholders. But then for the government institutions, the public institutions, for them they are run by the Ministry of Higher Education. So I think in that line, they are a bit free to make rules. But since we're talking about religious liberty here, they are not free to make a rule that is going to infringe on a student, even if they are private. Because remember that the supreme law of the land still governs everyone in that land, whether private or public.
Okay, so BK submission is, yes, they are private institutions, but they can't make rules to infringe on the rights of others. Okay? And so if Eudangando and me come up with the idea, okay, let's start a school, private, as you defined it, I will follow your definition. And then we invite members of the public to come. It is still private institution? Privately owned, but we invite members of the public to come. Is it still private institution? Others are saying no, they are doing this. Is it still a private institution? When we invite the public to come, why should it be called a private institution still? Defend your answers. Follow-up questions are coming. Defend your answers. Yes.
Yes, Elder, it's still a private institution. I think the only difference that will make it not a private institution is if it changes its registration. Of course, regulation will be put in place, but it's still a private institution. It has not changed. I'll give an example of, let's say a firm or a company employs people or advertise for public individuals to come and apply and work there. It doesn't change it to be a public institution. It's still a private institution, I submit.
Okay. And what do others say? So, the main issue that we discuss under this is, can the privately owned institution make rules that infringes on the rights of members of the public whom you are inviting to come? Because it is privately owned. Now, this was the issue in that Sararongwe matter. Now, it may not apply to education, but there is a principle that was set there. You know Intercontinental Hotel? Not Intercontinental. Where ZNS is then opposite. Yes. There was a rule, if I've not swapped the hotels, but you can read the... Pardon? Southern Sun. Okay. Yeah, you can read the facts. No, but the brief facts are these. There was a rule that a man can go alone in that hotel. Okay? But a woman cannot go alone. Must be accompanied by the husband. Okay. I know about China Kashiba. Okay. So even before we look at the merits of the case, I'm sure people are saying that it was not a fair. Okay, but that's how it was. Now, she has always been championing the rights. So she had to defy the rules. And then she went. Okay. No. The muscle man at the gate. No, sorry, madam. The rule here is very clear. You are a woman and you cannot come alone. To what? To hell with your what? With your rules. I'm going to get the services from the hotel. No, until she said, no. You are infringing on my what? On my right. You are discriminating. We'll come to the discrimination in the Constitution. You are discriminating. Discriminating in the sense that men are allowed freely to come in and out. But me, a woman, sorry. The matter went to court. Now, what the court, there's a principle that I like in that case. You have privately owned and registered this institution, but you make it public to what? Make it public. Invite members of it ceases to be private. And so you cannot, to that extent, you cannot, yes, it is privately owned, to that extent, you cannot make rules that will infringe on the rights of the public. Now, if I were sitting as a judge, I would actually say that if you want it to continue to be private, make it available only to your children and yes. Okay. So, in most cases, while we are looking at these principles, the little ones that we are sending to school, even us, the argument is, no, but this is a private what? Institution. But it's a private institution, but we have invited members of what? The public. Accommodate, like the pastor put it, accommodate even other what? Other faiths. The faith of the Catholic, the faith of what? If they say, no, we are Catholics, but we are at Rusangu, privately owned institution by the SDA, let's do what? Let's allow them. When we persuade them with the word of God, they get converted, yes. Yeah. So I thought that principle should be highlighted as we discuss. Okay. We are running out of time. And so we have to rush. Most of the principles, we have to leave them out. Any comment? Okay.
I have observed that the elder there and also my brother here, after giving their comment, they are adding the word, I submit. So I hope I also remember to say that. But we go quickly to the comment that I have. One, I didn't know that our school, Rusangu, has that policy that students should attain a certain number of days. Yes, or devotion. Then I've also been told Eden is also doing the same. Okay, to me, it feels like, anyway, it's an opinion. So I feel it may not be right to do that because we are now forcing, okay? We are forcing people to worship on the day that we believe is the day of the Lord. What we are supposed to do instead is encourage, teach, okay? Teach the correct word, and also pray that the Holy Spirit moves the souls that we have preached to, that they get converted. I believe God is a God of free will. He has given us the free will of, okay? When we go to Galatians, you can open the Bible to Galatians chapter 5, verse 13. Verse 13, yes. The Bible says, my brothers, you have been called to be free men and women in Jesus Christ. Don't abuse your freedom by living to please yourselves, but use your freedom to serve each other in love. In other versions, it says, man was made a free mortal. Okay? Like you are free to make, God gives us a free will of choice, but the devil forces. Not so. So the world today will say Adventists are forcing our children to worship on the Sabbath. What is going to stop us from forcing them to worship on Sunday? So, in short, my comment was looking at the idea of putting up a certain number of devotions, to say you need to attend so many devotions. Obviously, that's on the Sabbath. We are forcing. I submit.
Thank you so much. Before others can submit finally, I thought this is very important under Article 23, because most of these have to do with discrimination. Subject to clauses 4, 5, and 7. I will not read these clauses. A law shall not make any provision that is discriminatory, either of itself or in its effect. Subject to clause 6, 7, and 8, a person shall not be treated in a discriminatory manner by any person. Now, I want part 3. In this article, the expression discriminatory means affording what? Different treatment to different persons attributable wholly or mainly to their respective descriptions by race, tribe, sex, place of origin, marital status, political opinions, color, or creed. Do you know what a creed is? A summary of doctrines like a church manual. That's a creed, eh? Is it? Fundamental doctrines, that's a creed. So, you cannot discriminate a person based, like in the Sarah Salon, with the one we talked about. You cannot discriminate anyone by reason of race, by reason of religion, by reason of male, female. Okay. Now, it is not as simple as this. There have been battles just to define what amounts to discrimination in matters of faith, discrimination in matters of employment, discrimination in matters of education. We may have to leave out those details. And so, most of the principles that we have learned today, some of them have been developed in foreign jurisdictions. We do not have, if you scan through the law reports, we do not have cases where specifically the courts have touched on maybe education, discrimination, what. We are yet to hear what the court will decide on that dreadlock boy. I'm very particularly interested. Adventists, why can't we join that case? Elder Manjumelo, is he? Oh, he has left. Elder Ngand, why can't we be part of that, that case? Okay, that's on the past. A comment. It must be very quick because of time.
Yeah, what I want to say is, we should make a difference between a school setup and a church. If there are people who are very difficult to organize and put them together, it's the youth, the students for that matter. So when the church come up with those policies, it's just like the way it used to be when we were at school, in a government school, where they'll tell you that Tuesday you have to come for maintenance, whatever. It's like they are forcing you to do that. But behind that forcing, there is something that you have to gain out of it. You learn how to plant. You learn how to water your garden. But they are just forcing you to do that. So even in the school setup, when they bring them like in that way, they can't just come to church or to go to church on Sabbath on their own. There has to be some regulations that have to be put just to help them. And now you find that after they complete their education, Some of them are even elders this time. And they will tell you that it's because we were forced at school to go and attend those meetings in church. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very important point. Regulations in schools, regulations in hospitals, regulations in employment places will always be there. But the principle that we are getting is this, and we may end on that note. These regulations should not infringe on the right to worship to the extent of that inconsistency between your right and the regulations. Then the regulations must be what? Must be declared null and what? And void. We don't know. Some of these regulations have not been tested in our jurisdictions. But that is a principle that I'm getting from these foreign jurisdictions. I have to end. Elder Mwape has not spoken and has not been around. Please give him, he speaks. And Litwai, you want to say something? Okay, you have to be quick. I can see the elder is walking up here. Okay, please.
Thank you very much, Elder. I've actually been around listening from the back. I have a comment. It's a hard one. Human rights and all its origins are in the same root with evil. The moment human beings, after being created, wanted to demand what belongs to them, Eve was led into sin. She was told, you will be like God. Now, as a Christian, we don't need rights because our Father owns everything. The problem why we begin to lean on rights is because we are not true to ourselves. So we know we can't claim the promises that God has given us. So we want to find the ways of how we can do what God has said. Remember, God has said, do what is right and leave the consequences to Him. Now, the same way people will talk about rights, that is how some of the wrong things are allowed to happen simply because it is said to be human rights. And today we are aware of certain people who are claiming to say we are also human beings and we also have rights and we should be allowed to do this. So what is very important is that let us not trust what systems are in place to protect us. Let us trust the ability of God in being able to fight on our behalf. Because most of the things that we want to argue about, the same Bible that you hold in the hands as you do a swearing, gives you clear guidance. So it is not you to determine what is going to happen by using certain systems. Sometimes we end up placing ourselves into greater problems. So the encouragement is that, Christianity does not give us anything that says human rights that we claim. Christianity gives us privileges. And that is why God says, unto them that received him, he gave the power to be called sons and daughters of God. And then there are certain troubles that we have to go into because of the time at which we are living right now. We cannot avoid them and they'll just have to come. So even as we discuss these matters, we need to realize the time at which we are living in and certain things that we can barely not avoid. So that is why in Joel, the Bible tells us clearly that when you discover that where you are, the environment is not conducive for you, stand up and leave. Because sometimes we will try to do things that even Scripture itself is not supporting. So the most important thing is for us to be true to God, and God will take care of what He has to take care of. Thank you, Ayad.
Thank you so much. Now, I'm sure you can see that the submission. Yes, just. Okay. 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 I've been told, privileged, so to speak, that we accommodate the hands that are up. Okay. 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 Where do I start from? Oh. The toy is a question?
Yes, it's a question.
Okay, you can ask, then we address the comment. I know the hands are up because of the comment. Yes,
Okay,
and then the question. Yes.
Afternoon, church. So my question is coming from what I've seen. I used to work for our church some time back, and from what I saw, I will not mention names, but I used to work for a certain hospital that belongs to the church. And there, what I saw looks like discrimination, because in a way, it's not written anywhere, but there's some form of preferential recruitment where you prefer Adventists, but you're serving the public, but you'd rather employ Adventists. Of course, there were other religions. So in this place, I was working with a doctor from Rwanda. Now, this doctor is a Catholic. So he was the most experienced at that place, but he was not given the position of medical director until a younger doctor came from the US, who was Adventist, who came from AHI, Adventist Health Initiative. And that person is the one that came to be the medical director, despite not having an experience. What is your comment on such? Because if the doctor wanted, he would have sued the church. And in all fairness, that is not fair.
Okay, we have people to answer that. It's another question. Now we address the... Okay, it's a question? Okay. Continue.
Oh, okay. No. He has spoken more.
Maybe since the mic is there, maybe you can put up your...
All right. I think that putting into context what we're learning is that these matters are very important. In some places, to some people, it will require them to come over to the church and they get this sort of help because there are certain cases that will require them to go to court. So the Religious Liberty Department is relevant and important because we need representation. I may not see it now, but somebody could be going through a situation that requires them to go and defend their rights. And if it requires them to go all the way to the court, it will be imperative that they go that way. However, because we are Adventists and we know that the times that we live in are times that we are drawing closer to the end, what should be on our minds is that we will not always have the privilege to defend our rights. We must know the truth and we must be fortified in truth to an extent where we will love not our lives even unto death for the sake of truth. So what Elder Mwape is saying is that we just need to balance the two things. If today my employer tells me I have a meeting on Sabbath, it's up to me. There are meetings that are called on Sabbath. It's up to me to stand my grounds to say, I'm an Adventist, I cannot make it. If they are going to charge me for not going for an important meeting on Sabbath, let it be so. Others have compromised and said, I will show up. So at that point, we are getting to individual positions. Now, commenting on the issue of discrimination, we should not confuse ourselves here. What is there? Those are provisions on the law. We are an Adventist church. What defines us is because we keep the Sabbath. You cannot come into the Adventist church and then you say, we must do everything and anything. No. That is, then we are losing our identity. We are Adventists. That is who we are. So when you come claiming certain things, not here. This is who we are. It is like saying we are tired of worshiping on the Sabbath, so we must worship on Sunday. No. We are Seventh-day Adventist church, period. Our institutions run as such. I studied in an Adventist institution, and we needed to be at the chapel every evening, and you needed to be given a ticket. If you don't hit them, you will not graduate. In my third year, there was a gang of people. I think they were Kenyans and a team of other Tanzanians. They said, we are tired of being treated like we are in a prison. We want to come, the ladies were saying, we want to come in slacks. We want to eat everything that we want. And this is our right. And they ganged themselves. They started burning tires within the institution. Some were fourth years. They were expelled. They were expelled and they never graduated. Why? Because an Adventist institution is run as such. I don't know what the law says to say it is privately owned, but it is public, so then we can accommodate the public. No. Even if we have invited the public. From the public, what we are saying is, if you can enroll under these conditions, then this is your home. But if you are from the public and you think we are too much as Adventists, please try next door. So I think let's not confuse ourselves and we begin fighting for all the rights and so on and so forth. Imagine if we bring a Catholic to be a director of an Adventist hospital. Then he begins to tell people to say, in your condition, go and eat pork. In your condition, drink a little bit of chivuku. You'll be fine. Are we not losing our identity?
Okay, thanks for that. I'll summarize the comments. I'm taking note of the comments. Okay, we've seen the hand at the back, but there was a hand here. Okay, I've seen it.
Thank you very much. I would just like to share my experience.
You have to be very brief with that experience.
Yes. So from my experience, what I've observed is that Adventists, sometimes we betray each other in working places. Where I was working, there was supposed to be a meeting on the Sabbath, and I was the information officer. The director said everyone should come. But I know that you, William, you will not come. How come you don't attend meetings on Sabbath? But some of these are elders. They come for meetings. How come you choose to be like difficult when these your colleagues and this one is an elder, he comes on Sabbath? So what I told my director is that I think you should ask them why they come. Me, I have the reason why I don't come, and I've already explained it to you. So most of the time we betray ourselves as Adventists. Some pretend they even attend these meetings. That's why our bosses sometimes can't take us seriously. The second lesson I've learned is that sometimes working with fellow Adventists becomes difficult when you're on the helm. Like now where I work, I'm the in charge. The most difficult people who give me hell is Adventists. For example, simple things like reporting on time. These Adventists, they are the ones who come late for work. And the ones we call Catholics and Pentecostals, they are very obedient. A fellow elder who knows that this one who is in charge here is an Adventist, will say, what can you tell me? So for me, my experience has been the people who give me the most difficult and challenging people to challenge me whenever we want to do the right thing. It has been Adventists because they think they know a lot. That's why people don't take us seriously. For us to even be appreciated by our employers, we should be the best employees. We should be the best. We should report on time.
Amen.
We should be the most faithful. We should be the ones who are doing the right thing. Our employers will still keep us if we are faithful. But the problem is sometimes we are not faithful and we are very difficult to work with. Thank you.
Manvera wa SDA, huh?
It's true.
Okay. Yes, laziness, reporting for work late. You report at 8 hours, you start playing a cappella instead of working. Okay, thank you so much for that. Yes, bro.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Mine will be very short. I think my good elder Yamba has addressed 3/4 of my submissions. I was just touched by the last statement from the elder. Because when you said it is the last submission and then it opens up other ideas, I thought it was going to be dangerous if we knocked off with such a confusing statement from the elder. First of all, we should not be deceived by the let's cut the two words, okay? Human rights. Human is just human, okay? Because it's an adjective. This is a right of humans, okay? Now, what is a right? What's a right? Something that you can claim, maybe because of other underlying circumstances. Okay? I can assure you that even as Adventists, we enjoy this privilege of human rights. I would want to summarize that there are good human rights and bad human rights. A human right to be involved in lesbianism, that's a bad human right. Okay? But a human right to claim that we have the right to worship on Sabbath, that's a good one. It has nothing to do with the devil. However, and I repeat, however, these human rights, especially the bad ones, will be an instrument that the devil will use to hook people away from Jesus. So, this which we are doing, religious liberty, it is like that verse, armor yourself. Okay? So, armor yourself so that when these deceptions come, we'll even tell them, we know these rights. You understand? That's how it should be. So, these rights are not from the devil. Please get it right. They are actually from God. Only that the devil uses what is good and turns it into what? Bad. I submit.
Thank you so very much. Okay. I'm told I should summarize, but Elder Chero, if you bring something that attracts or allow others to speak, please, you can say something.
Thank you for the opportunity. Assuming Barbara Banda was an Adventist, you know what I want to say, church. And then she said, no, I'm the one who's pretending to date Chainama. So go and play. I think you know what the end result would have been by the end of the day today. So my counsel, that is my penultimate point, by the way. My counsel is that avoid joining such organizations because you may not manage to convert the whole organization. You end up being converted.
Thank you so very much. Where we can avoid, please let us avoid. Now, a quick comment on the right. Now I'm summarizing. A human right, it is called human right as has been submitted because we are what? Human beings. Now, these have not been privileged to us by the UN, by US, by the president, by the constitution. No. We are born with them by reason that we are what? Human beings. Now, for the purpose of enforcement, they have been written down. Otherwise, even if they are not written anywhere, we are born with them. God could not punish Adam without first hearing him. That is a right to be heard. He was born with that right. Was it written anywhere? No. If God had punished him without hearing him, that is not fair. Is it? So, they are godly. However, Where there is good as has been submitted, the devil always wants to introduce something bad. Even that which is not as per definition of a right, people want to champion it as what? Human rights. Okay. And then on the point of discrimination, you cannot discriminate anyone. I was just writing this. Sorry, a quick one. You cannot discriminate anyone based on tribe, based on race, based on place of origin, based on marital status, based on political opinion, based on color, based on creed. Now, there are privileges. You accord this one, this privilege, this person, no. There are advantages. You accord this person, no. Based on religion, based on place of origin, based on marital status. I'm trying to answer Mazeze's question. Yes, you can challenge it that, no, I think this is not fair. But again, there should be a balance. In our faith-based institutions, imagine with me, someone heading an Adventist institution is a member of the Watchtower or a member of a Catholic. Yeah. We sometimes have to balance, yes, our right and the reality on the ground. In brief, thank you so much for being a very good teacher. I was listening to your presentations. Yes. And for according this department the right to speak today. Okay, our leader should have summarized this. I'm sure she will summarize and give a vote of thanks. Okay. Amen. Sister Ngando, please. Thank the church just to give us this opportunity today.
Good evening, children of God. We want to thank everyone who is present for being there to listen to what the department wanted to present. We know that this is, in most cases, is not a very interesting topic, so people would want to be away, but thank you for being here. And also, we want to thank the church for finally giving us this opportunity to speak and to present as a department. It may look like it is not very relevant, and everything that can be said about religious liberty can't be said in one meeting. So yes, there is issues of the National Sunday Law. It cannot be tackled in this presentation. And so we hope that we will have another opportunity where we can talk about the other side, where as individuals we need to be committed and rooted and grounded in our faith, so that when tables turn and the liberties are taken away from us, we should be able to stand on our faith, stand on our principles and the faith that we have, and rightly represent our God. Thank you so much.
What do we say for the department, religious liberty? Okay. Since I've been told that there will be many more to come, maybe among the topics to be considered is the proposal. Since I'm the pulpit manager, I'm at liberty to put my personal proposal. I think we have not handled aspects of hate speech and how they probably intersect with how we conduct evangelism. Imagine I start bashing gay people. You know what I mean, isn't it? Or maybe somebody takes offense that I'm calling somebody who goes to a certain church to say, you're the Antichrist. You know what I mean, isn't it? So it's a from the pulpit manager, it's a personal request that in the next Bible study, you should consider such questions. We have a lost and found Bible. I think inside it's written McKenna family. So you can, I don't want to say you can see me, but you can say Deacon Chital, Jonathan. Amen? All right. We shall stand and we shall make use of the hymn that we started with, Faith of Our Fathers, and we will sing according to the leading of the chorister. and I'm being told the pastor, since I was just standing in your shoes are too big, you close for us in prayer.
304 SDH. Faith of our fathers living still, in spite of dungeon, fire, and sword. Oh, how our hearts beat high with joy when we hear that glorious word. Faith of our fathers, holy faith, we will be true to thee till death. Our fathers chained in prisons dark, we're still in heart and conscious free, would be their children's fate if they like them could die for thee. Faith of our fathers, holy faith, we will be true to thee till death. Faith of our fathers, we will love, both friend and foe, in all our strife, and preach thee true as love knows how, by kindly words and virtuous life. Faith of our fathers, holy faith, we will be true to thee till death.
Our Father and our loving God, we want to thank you for the opportunity you gave unto us, that we may come here and worship you. We know we have learned a lot today. Give us the ability that we will put into practice everything that we have learned. As we get back to our homes, may your loving Father take us safely under the wings of love and give us power that we'll be able to represent your name throughout this week that is ahead of us. May you bless all the families that are represented here and bring us back next Sabbath as we meet here to hear more about you. Be with all those that have taken part in the worship of today, and let your will be done. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
The elder on duty this week, or this starting week, is Elder Wamulwange.
day they pass me by, I can see it in their eyes. Empty people filled with care, headed who knows where. On they go through private pain, leaving fear to fear. Laughter hides their silence.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of Chainama Adventist Church, I am excited to extend an invitation to you to our 2023 camp meeting. It is going to run from the 20th to the 26th of August. Venue, Streamview Campsite in Rufunsa. Theme, I will go. Main speakers, Pastor Irvin Gwatiringa at the main chapel and Pastor Mazuba Mwana Mujende at the children's chapel. Guest singing group, Firm Faith from Zimbabwe.
He could have called 10,000 angels to destroy the world and set him free. He could have called 10,000.
Please register to help plan for you. God bless and see you there.
10,000 angels and set him free.